with everything you do, it's always really good to maintain a good balance. But when it comes to kind of gardening or permaculture, tree planting, it's really, really important to have that. I mean, any kind of undisturbed bit of nature is going to form a natural balance by itself, and you want to kind of recreate that as much as possible in what you plant and what you do. You look at nature and you can see a really nice kind of balance. You've got just the right amount of predators, you've got different types of food coming at different times of the year. You've got a kind of nice balance with all the niches filled, and it's always really, really good to sort of bear this in mind when doing anything. Even just in a garden, it's, you sort of think you want things flowering at all times of year. If you're growing vegetables, you want protein, carbohydrate and greens and fruit if you can all year round, so you want a kind of a balance of everything, and it is so important to kind of always consider this as well. You want to create as good a natural balance as nature does, or as best as you can. And to fill all the niches, it's good to sort of create as many niches as you can. Like in creating a woodland area, I've put in different levels and had wet bits and dry bits and bits facing the sun and bits facing the shade. So you've got as many niches as possible to get as many different plants in to ensure more biodiversity. And biodiversity is really key to having a natural balance, because you have as many species as possible. You're more likely to kind of feed all the animals as well and provide something to eat for wildlife all year round, and for yourself for foraging. So it's kind of nice to have like a good amount of fungi, good amount of herbs, trees, under canopy, shrub trees, you know, a whole lot. So every kind of niche is filled. And then where you've got sort of high sort of banks like this, you've got kind of a drier bits that different plants can grow on, and then you've got kind of wet bits where plants that like damper conditions can grow. And it's always good to bear this in mind, as in creating more habitats is really key to creating a natural balance and lots of biodiversity. The more established a natural environment is, generally the more of a natural balance it forms. Here, this woods has only been here just over a decade, and it's already attracted quite a lot of plants and wildlife. And so although the geese are kind of keeping pond plants out of the pond mostly, but apart from that, we're getting quite a good diversity of things all growing here, which is really, really good. And lots of different species. Of course, a natural environment will have the right amount of predators, a mixture of plants, and everything kind of works well together in a kind of harmonious state. Any kind of rewilding kind of project, you must only use plants that are native to the area, and to fully research which ones grow best for the kind of conditions that you have. But of course it's these native plants that have like symbiotic relationships with other native things and native animals that feed on them, and other kind of fungi and things that are all connected with them. But like plants from other areas are not going to have those connections, or they'll take maybe thousands of years to develop them. And also you've got like invasive plants. Not all non-natives are invasive, but some of them are. And if you've got an invasive plant that will just take over and destroy the habitat for loads of things, that certainly isn't a good thing. In the garden, not everything's going to be native. Some of the plants in the garden will be native, or cultivars of native things, but as long as you have a nice diversity of things for the bees and the birds to eat. And like in a garden, it's more about like colour and produce and things like that. So you want sort of colour for all year round, a nice balance of things. So you haven't got all the flowers coming out in the spring and no space left for the summer. So you want like kind of all year round things, and to have plants that aren't going to spread out and invade the countryside, but kind of a nice balance of things. But really, today it's focusing on kind of more rewilding things, woodland planting, re-establishing grasslands, things like that. So you want to get this this whole kind of natural balance going really as soon as possible whenever you start any kind of project. And these woods have only been here, this little bit of the woods has only been here about 4 or 5 years, I think. The bit over the other side of the pond has been there for about a decade. It's all like adding little bits at a time. And another way to get a nice balance when planting a woodland is not to do it all at the same time. So I've done little patches, because I've got to landscape it as well, so it'd be very difficult to do it all at once. You want to try and get up here as well? Come on then. This might cause a bit of a ruckus, but we shall see. Right, so yeah, so like having, when you put a load of trees in all at the same time, they just sort of grow up all the same age, and it just kind of looks a bit like a plantation. You haven't got all that sort of different age trees that make a kind of diverse woodland. So what I try and do here is just do a landscape bit here, a bit there, and sort of plant them when they're established, plant another bit next to it. So you've got a kind of a bit of a patchwork. I also do patches of shrub trees. I don't plant the big trees in every bit. I let them seed themselves in. So I leave a lot of shrub trees. It's got like the canopy and it's woodland, but then the bigger trees kind of seed themselves in later at their own pace, and then you get more of a kind of different aged of trees and things like that. It's also helpful with existing hedges or existing trees, because then you've got some other ones that are a different age, and that's really good. So this is unusual. Usually one of them wins and the other one has to jump off, but they seem to be quite happy like that. This is Tarquin here, Tarky for short, and this one is Khan. And now they've decided to stretch out and make themselves comfortable, so I become kind of less and less comfortable. But anyway, here, like a little grassland bit. Grassland sort of needs a little bit of intervention, needs some kind of grazing creatures. We just have geese, so we have to cut it occasionally. And of course the grassland needs a little bit of maintenance in a place where everything would be naturally woodland, but you do get a lot of biodiversity in grassland. Lots of mushrooms are growing grassland, lots of herbs, so it's nice to have bits of grassland, but they do need a little bit of maintenance sometimes to stop them turning into woodland. And of course hedgerows as well, to these little kind of 7-foot high tubes of deciduous woodland that sort of go through, a couple that go through connecting the woods together, and they need to be cut once a year to keep them kind of like they are, because they provide a lot of habitats for a lot of wildlife. And also I have them on little banks as well, so there's like a raised up bit, a whole little bit of ground there, different habitats, different bits facing different directions, and it means that any trees that grow off here can be taken somewhere else, and the hedge isn't going to encroach, and likewise I'm not going to encroach into the hedge, so the bank kind of makes like a definite boundary where the hedge begins and starts. So yeah, whilst the woods is more like kind of left alone, you know, just maybe the paths cleared, or if there's fallen trees in the future, just chopped up a bit. But I want to leave the forest areas as much alone as possible, just kind of removing any invasive weeds that find their way here, and kind of just maintain it in a kind of not kind of too invasively. Trying to create a balance with ponds as well, because ponds are very good at attracting loads of wildlife. So all the mammals and loads of birds and reptiles and goodness knows what has to drink, and a lot of them will drink out of the ponds. By having ponds, of course, you've got loads of spaces where anything can drink, but also you've got like insects and amphibians that reproduce in the water, and of course you've got fish as well, which is even more native species. So in here we have all native species of fish. We have like crucian carps and tench and bream, rudd, roach and sticklebacks. So again, more biodiversity by having a pond. I mean, if you have goldfish, they are kind of related to carp, so I guess it's not too far off. But you know, like a big wild pond like this, I wanted to have just wild species of fish, and they breed and breed and breed, and we have like even a heron that comes and eats the fish sometimes. But of course, herons are great big things, and they don't really dive or go into deep water. They only have to hang around by shallow water looking for something to eat, and they usually eat like amphibians and things, or smaller fish. So the fish in here are sometimes this big, so they're kind of too big, so the heron's not really a threat. But if you've got like a shallow pond about 3 feet deep, like one of those like fiberglass garden ponds, then a heron can just literally empty the pond. But in a deep pond like this, the fish are mostly in deep water, so they are largely unaffected. But it occasionally gets a fish, usually a frog. Having an orchard as well, it creates a different environment. Most of the fruit trees have native relatives, and of course you get nice sort of fruit. Having a balance with fruit, really. You need like strawberries in the polytunnel, you'd get fruit in like May, otherwise you get them in kind of June, and the wild strawberries, and then you've got like plums that start in July, gooseberries and black currants that start in July, and then from August till kind of November or October, you've got like fruit on the apple trees and the pear trees, and some of those you can wrap up. You put in layers of straw in the shed, and they'll keep till kind of January. So you've got kind of most of the year covered with fruit. Because if you live in the tropics, you can have fruit all year round, or if you live a bit further south, but that's not too bad. And of course, you can kind of dry fruit and things. Yes, it's good to have like stuff all year round. That's kind of like a balance in itself. An orchard is sort of like not woodland or grassland. It's like it has grass under it, but it doesn't support the diversity of sun-loving meadowland plants that a grassland would. But it's a good home for things that like more organic material in the ground from the leaves, and also things that like semi-shade. So you get a kind of different environment in an orchard that's like between woodland and grassland. A good natural balance can be achieved by having the right amount of land for different said purposes. And like in here, we've got so much land that's for nature, so much land that's for like things we grow, like our crops and things, and then different bits for whatever else we need. Sort of where are my bases? I've got like vegetables at the back garden, garden at the front garden, so it's all kind of near me. And I haven't got to trek off if I want to just get some carrots from the vegetable garden. I can just go straight out from the kitchen into the vegetable garden. Boom, it's right there, convenient. Herbs even closer. And so then things like orchards and woodland and things like that can be kind of further away, where I haven't got to tend to them as much. Because like orchards, you've got to like just prune them, pick the apples, things like that. They don't really need much watering, only when a tree's recently been planted for the first few years if there's a dry spell. But you want everything kind of a convenient distance and well planned. Also, you're going to want, wherever you are and your vegetables in your garden, to have a good amount of sunlight. That's where you want to be. And then sort of the bits that aren't so good are quite good to have as woodland, because woodland can cope with lots of different conditions, and you can also make different bits by landscaping it. So here we've done the highest bits, the north facing bits, where a woodland would provide shelter, but it won't shade things too much. Also in the south side a bit, where the sun is higher and it's not going to shadow so much, but generally along the top and in the northern sides, and the woodlands become a real asset then, because they kind of hold moisture and sort of nutrients and gradually kind of feed it through the water table. So having a woods at the top of the land is really good. But of course in boggy areas where nothing will grow, then you might as well have that as woodland as well. It creates more kind of habitat for wildlife. And then have those kind of really nice sunny bits, the really nice soil. That's where you want to be, and that's where you want to grow your plants and grow your crops. So by having it like that, really nice and organised, that makes a really good natural balance. It's always very good to research things as well. Research plants that grow in your local area. Are they native? Do they support wildlife? Are they useful? And the more you know, the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to create a nice, natural, balanced environment. This is like whether you're planting a woodland or doing a garden or whatever it is. The more knowledge you have, the more information you have, the better, the potentially better you can do. So it's really, really good to kind of know about it all. And you can always never ever stop learning. There's always something else to learn. You can like learn things every day, So it's kind of good to do that. I mean, I've got it so that I see learning stuff as relaxing. You know, I just watch a video on something or read about something, and I just see that as like a way of actually relaxing rather than playing like a computer game or something. Hello, or something like that, which you know, doesn't create anything. Come on then. Yeah. Oh. Right, okay. So it's always good to be aware of as much as you can. Try and create as nicer environment as you can, a kind of richer, better environment which will be more productive. Like the more species of tree, the more types of fungi you get, the more species of tree and plant you get, the more insects you get, the more birds you get. And just biodiversity seems to breed more biodiversity. The more little animals you have, the more big animals you come to feed on them. And that's all really good. See if I can balance on this today. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. So I think that's about it for today then. So I hope you liked today's video. If you did, I can swing on this a bit. Ooh. Please like and subscribe. And if you press the little me, which is somewhere down there, then you can see all my other videos. And if you have any questions, please ask. And I shall see you next time.